Hey, what's going on? This is Kelvin Third Shift Brown. My guest this week is George Howard, professor at Loyola University. This is a third shift report. Let's get this going. Since you have no idea what we're talking about today, basically from the last time we talked until now, the last time we talked, you taught me how to move on from work for hire to song contracts. And now this week I want to talk about moving from song contracts, bundling those up into starting to monetizing that into a company.
Okay.
And basically I wanted to know, I was leaning towards an LLC.
Okay.
I've seen that's popular, but what can a limited liability corporation do for me? Company do for me?
Okay, they're great questions. It's certainly important things. It's a topic of conversation that tends to have people glaze over very quickly, so we'll try and be brief about it. LLC stands for limited liability company, not corporation. It's a common misconception. LLC is not a corporation. Let's talk about different legal forms of ownership, which is what you're talking about. So you start a company, right? Or you've got an idea. You've got third shift, and you want to start selling stuff. Okay.
I want to brand myself.
You want to brand yourself, which is fine. First concern that you're going to have is, okay, you want to brand yourself as Third Shift Entertainment. So if somebody buys some of your stuff, who are they going to write the check to?
Right, me.
To you. And that's not helping you brand Third Shift Entertainment, right? Because you can't deposit a check that's made out to Third Shift Entertainment.
It has to be out to Kelvin Brown.
Yeah, it has to be made out to Kelvin Brown, which is, you don't want to be talking to anyone and say, make your check out to Kelvin. That's amateur hour, right? So you can solve, and that's really the first inkling that I think most people have of, maybe I need to have a business entity so I can use a name that's not my own. There are a couple ways to address that. The vast majority of businesses that are out there operating in the United States today are what's called sole proprietorships. And all that means is you, Kelvin Brown, and me, George Howard, or whatever, decide, hey, we're going to start a business. I'm going to start a business, independent of anyone else. I'm going to put a shingle up and sell whatever it is I'm going to sell. Okay, that's fine. You can do that, right? We live in a great country. When you do that, the government has to tax you. You make money, you got to pay taxes on it. You're a sole proprietorship. All the government's going to say is, you can start a business. It's fine with us. There's more money. We're going to collect more money. We're going to collect money based on your Social Security number. So whatever your Social Security number is, you make money in, you're going to declare that as income, and you pay it right out. So if somebody wants to pay you money, they got to write the check to you. Well, people said, well, that's kind of amateur hour. I got Third Shift Entertainment. I don't want people writing checks to Kelvin Brown. I want them writing to Third Shift Entertainment. So one way around it is to set up what's called a DBA, which stands for doing business as. So you can go down to your city hall, fill out a couple papers, pay $30 or so, and alert people to the idea that there's this other side to Kelvin Brown. It's called Third Shift Entertainment, right? And so you are now Kelvin Brown doing business as Third Shift Entertainment. This allows you to open a bank account, a business account, and it allows you to get a checkbook that says Third Shift Entertainment and for people to write checks to you. Right? A lot of people do this. It's easy. It's simple. It's still you. It's in the eyes of the government, Third Shift, in the eyes of the IRS, Third Shift Entertainment and Kelvin Brown are the same thing. It's the same tax ID number. It's your Social Security number. That is what the vast majority of businesses are out there. So you can do that. And that might obviate some of your issues with, looking like an amateur. You now have a company name. The reason people start corporations is because doing it just as a sole proprietor, it's you, right? And with you, it means you're limited to certain things. First of all, it's very, very hard to raise money as a sole proprietor. How do you do it? How do you raise money as a sole proprietor? People have to give you money, in essence. Right. They have to say, or lend it to you. Here's some money. Right? You can't give them anything in return. Now you can write up a little document that says, okay, I, George Howard, give Kelvin, $1,000, and you will repay me, and you can create side agreements. But you can't sell any portion of your company because your company is you. What are you going to sell? You can sell your assets in your house or what? You can't. You want to figure out a way to separate your personal income from your business income, right? One, so that you can raise money more efficiently and more easily. The second is, if Kelvin Bryant, doing business as Third Shift Entertainment, gets sued, You put out some record that has a sample on it, right? You're unaware of it. You sign some band, you ask the guy, does it have any samples in it? He says no, and you release it, and then, oops, there's a Rolling Stone sample in this.
Highly doubt that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but, just Rolling Stones. But I see what you're saying.
Okay, the Rolling Stones have hammered a lot of people for illegally sampling their work. There's a band called The Verve that basically ripped off Bittersweet Symphony. Is basically a Rolling Stones song. Rolling Stones now own that song and all of the millions of dollars in royalties that came. But so maybe not the Rolling Stones. Whatever. You're sampling some. I mean, you typically make your own stuff up, but maybe someone you work with sample something. You put it out under Third Shift Entertainment, DBA. Kelvin Brown, DBA, Third Shift Entertainment, and someone says, "Hey, you've infringed. We're going to sue you." Not just for the actual damages of income loss, but you also damaged my reputation. I didn't want to be associated with Third Shift Entertainment. I don't like your music. And now my fans are confused. You owe me punitive damages. And punitive damages were designed to keep people from doing just that. We're going to punish you so that other people don't do it. So we're going to make an example out of you. You owe us $1 million. Now you're Third Shift Entertainment doing business with Kelvin Brown, and they say, well, it's all the same thing. Is that a house you have over there, Kelvin? Guess what? It's ours, right?
Right.
So sole proprietorships have tremendous liability attached to them, right? There's no wall between your business structure and your personal assets. Nothing.
So that's where the limited liability comes in.
And there's the word, right? Limited liability. Before we get to that, let me just be clear. So in order to get around this, people started saying, well, look, we don't want that, because in hip hop there may not be, or in music in general, there may not be as many liabilities. But what if you're a construction site? People getting hurt all the time. You don't want your personal, assets attached to it. So you build what's called a corporation. And corporations go back, thousands of years, hundreds of years, or whatever. It's a fictitious entity. It's an entity that's recognized by the government, by the IRS, as a standalone entity that is distinct from its owners. So no one owns a corporation. A corporation has many owners, but it stands alone, and it puts a wall up between the person and the business. So the person can get sued, and it doesn't touch the business assets, and vice versa. So in our sampling example, if you had a corporation set up and somebody sued you for infringement with a sample, they could get all the assets of the corporation. But in theory, and there are ways around this, but in theory they couldn't get your house. And so that's why people do it. The other reason goes back to this raising of money. Corporations allow you to issue shares. So you say, okay, I'm Third Shift Entertainment, and we're going to create a corporation, and we're going to value our corporation at $100,000. I think my musical expertise, some of my equipment, some of the stuff I've done in the past, a fair market value for that is $100,000. And at the early days of these things, you kind of just pick numbers. You try and be realistic, but you got to pick a number. So we're going to issue 100,000 shares at $1 each. Right? And right now, you own all 100,000 of them. You're the sole shareholder of every share of Third Shift Entertainment. But you're thinking to yourself, you know what I could use? A new piece of gear, and it's going to cost me $1,000, right? So you go to someone, friends, family, whoever, and say, look, I need to raise some money for this venture that I'm doing. I'm going to sell you some shares. I'll sell you 1,000 shares of Third Shift Entertainment for $1 share. You get your $1,000 in, right? That's your money. In exchange, they get the shares. Those shares are valued at $1. You go out and you start having success. All of a sudden, you can value your company at $5. That person's initial investment of $1,000 is now quintupled. It's now worth $5,000. Now, the only way they can liquidate that money, the only way they can sell those shares is if you were to buy them back or if they were to sell them to someone else. We're not talking about shares that trade on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. That's a different thing. You don't have to trade on those markets to have shares, right? Also, if you sell your company, right? So if somebody says, Third Shift Entertainment is great, I want it, and they come in and they say, I'll give you $2 million for it. Well, your $100,000 worth of shares just went through the roof. Your shares are now worth, whatever the math is, $20 a share, right? Mm-hmm. So this person that has 1,000 shares now has $20,000, right? So that's one way to raise money in a very efficient way, and a lot of people do that. In order to set up a corporation like that, you have to either be an S corp, or a C corp. These are various different types of corporations that it's a little bit beyond the purview for me to go into depth. But they both allow you to issue shares.
Okay,
LLCs. I'm sorry. I know this is what I say when I started this. People glaze over, but there's no. I'm doing this as fast as I can. LLCs are the third kind of the triumvirate here. You've got the sole proprietorship, which is and partnerships in the same way, and then you've got corporations. And an LLC is basically a hybrid. Okay, it's not a corporation. It's a common misconception that it's a corporation. It is another legal form of ownership that allows you to put that wall up between your legal assets and your personal assets, but it's a lot easier and cheaper to set up than a corporation. Corporations cost money to set up. Usually a lawyer has to be involved. An LLC, it's good to have a lawyer involved, but it's a lot cheaper to do. You can't issue shares with an LLC. You can sell memberships in the LLC. So you could go to that same person who bought you $1,000 of your corporate stock and say, look, I'm going to sell you X% of my company, right? And you put a value on it. So you get around it that way. But if you want to issue shares, you can't do it with an LLC. And that's something worth remembering. It's pretty easy to convert an LLC into a corporation.
Okay.
Long answer, but that's the nutshell version. The important thing, just to emphasize one point, the important thing is sole proprietorships do not provide you any comfort, any relief from your own personal liability. There's no wall between your own personal assets.
Okay. So basically,
this is not legal advice, by the way. I'm not a lawyer. You should consult a lawyer before you decide which type of legal form of ownership you wish to engage in.
Okay, so consult a lawyer. I can't just ask you what do you think I should do.
I'm sorry?
I can't ask you what you think I should do, but I can ask you.
You can ask me, and I can say I'm not a lawyer, and you should consult a lawyer and an accountant. I mean, I think that's the right answer. My advice to you is to get started, okay? Is to not get bogged down too much in forming corporations and all of those things, is to start doing stuff. Right now, you probably don't have a ton of assets. I don't know. You probably don't have kids. You don't have right now, it's more important for you to get going. Start doing something. It's very easy to go from a DBA, a sole proprietorship, to an LLC or to a corporation. It's not.
Okay.
I mean,
so my next step should be to do the DBA.
If I would prefer to see you do an LLC. I would prefer to see you put a wall between your personal assets and your business assets. I think that's the right answer. But if that's going to discourage you or keep you from doing business and getting stuff out there, then start with a DBA, start doing some stuff, and have in the back of your mind, look, I need to formalize this. An LLC is a much more pro way to go, too, right? It elevates you out of the levels of just the kid that starts a lemonade stand, which is a sole proprietorship, right? You want to be a real thing. You want to be Third Shift Entertainment, LLC. That shows a certain level of professionalism, savvy on your part. And it's not that expensive. And it also forces you to you got to have articles of a corporation there. You got to kind of lay out what it is. You have to have, who the directors, the members of the corporation, all of that. It forces you to kind of think about your business from a business perspective. I think it's the right thing to do. It's not the right thing to do frankly, if forming an LLC is a hurdle that you're not willing to jump over before you start your business, you probably shouldn't start a business because you're going to have much higher hurdles to jump over than
right. Well, the reason why I ask is I'm just starting out, but I want to give myself the best possible way to grow.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to.
That's a great.
I don't want to start and then I grow out of it, and then here, I'm stuck.
No, you're not stuck, but it's a really wonderful point. LLCs are very flexible, and so if you were to do an LLC and you wanted to say, become a full-fledged corporation, you can do that. Okay. And a lot of people do. A lot of people realize that they really need stock, and so they change. If you're thinking that way, if you're thinking, I need to go raise some money, you might want to look into an S corp.
Yeah, my goal was, we talked, you asked me what my goal was, and I said taking over the world.
No, that's absolutely the right goal.
I want to start like a hybrid between a record label and a production company. I produce right now, but I know say 10, 15 years from now I get tired of producing.
Right.
I still have these, these song contracts, still have these deals,
right.
I want to be in a space where I can contract those out to other producers.
Yeah,
and
well,
run it myself.
I mean, hip hop production differs from a lot of other production, right? The traditional non-hip hop production idea, a producer would come in and help an artist to get the best performance, really help them, craft their lyrics, their songs, whatever. Hip hop is more production, more about co-write, right? When you say production, you're talking about writing the beats, right? So you are a co-author. So you write these beats, you get an MC to come in and rap over them. It's a co-write. You've written the music, they've written the lyrics, just like Jagger and Richards, right? I'm going to keep throwing Rolling Stones reference at you because I know you appreciate them. So at that point, it's a really nice situation to be in, because the other way that producers make their money is when a record label will pay them to produce the records, but you can also get percentage points on the back end, which means when Dr. Dre does a track for someone, or when the Neptunes or whatever do a track for someone, and that record sells, they get a point of that retail price sale. So, in other words, if they might get 2-3 percentage points of a $10 list price CD, which is only 30 cents, but 30 cents times 3 million starts to add up, right? So you've got that flow of income, but then you also have the co-write on the publishing. So you've got the mechanical license, the license that allows record labels to put the song you wrote or co-wrote onto their record, which is currently about 90 cents a song. And they'll negotiate that down. But you're half the writer, so you're going to be getting 45 cents every song that's sold. So you're building real assets. Whether you can go and sell that again, as you're saying, you want to build up this catalog of stuff, that gets a little dodgier. I don't know how you would get that back. If you write a song, it ends up on an album for someone else, that's kind of its home at that point. You can't then take that beat, give it to another artist.
Hip hop is like, that's taboo.
Yeah.
I think a good
way.
It's
not just taboo; it's probably illegal.
You're right. Jesus. What I wanted to do is by signing artists through song deals.
Right.
They can have as many record deals as they want with whoever label, but I'm still.
So you want to do a production company.
Right.
I mean, from our last conversation, this conversation, I've been thinking about it. You want, and we talked about this a bit last time in terms of publishing, right? You want to be at the center. So artists come to you, or you make beats and reach out to artists, and those artists can sign to label A through Z, release it themselves, do publishing deals, whatever. You want to sit at it and just farm this stuff out. And I frankly think that's the best thing in the world. You want to build relationships with these labels so that and artists, but why would you want? The only reason you would go to a label exclusively and be like an in-house production company or something would be they just have to pay you an ungodly amount of money. I mean, Dr. Dre is not affiliated with any label. Pharrell is not affiliated with any label.
They have their own.
They have their own label, and that's fine. I don't think that's worked out that great for him, frankly. And Dre was Aftermath.
Yeah,
right?
he's smart beyond smart.
Yeah. The other thing about Dre is you don't ever see Dude that often, right?
Like he comes like one every blue moon.
Yeah, and he's happy just to go and kind of count his money. I mean, he's a real example of somebody that he's an amazing career, right? Be Dre. Be the guy that's like, I like making music. I'm going to make music. I'm going to make my deals. I'm going to be smart about it. I can only imagine how lucrative, the deals Dre is.
It's worth like 100. I think it's like $142 million.
I bet that's not even half. That dude. Anyway, but the point is, if you look at his model, he built his initial notoriety with NWA, right?
Right.
Again, he built that on the back of a label. This is something people tend to forget in this age of constantly kind of besmirching labels. If Interscope, right, hadn't put out NWA, would Dre be in a position where he is now? Maybe. He seems like somebody who's destined to succeed. But you get my point. There was an aspect there of the label really giving him a big enough push to where he could go, hey, everyone loves this record, let's make some more records. And then he was, found Snoop and did, and any number of others. You want to be that guy. The question is, how do you get to be that guy?
Man, my idea was to start putting out my own albums.
I think that's the right idea.
As far as like produce, how he did the Chronic thing, Chronic 2001, and then he found the Chronic the Chronic was, basically around Snoop.
Right.
And the Chronic, 2001 was around Eminem.
Right.
Basically, I wanted to do my own kind of like Chronic, but do it myself.
Yeah.
That way, my talents are being shown, and then I'm gravitating people to these other artists. That way, we build ties, we make music together, and the general public's like, wow, when Kelvin and so-and-so come together, it's always a hot song. Wow, I'm going to buy it.
I think that you're building your brand, as you said. And that is the way to do it. And I think that's the broad kind of, as I would say, 35,000-foot view of your career. I'd encourage you to start getting back down into tree level and start saying, well, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do tomorrow to get to that? Right. Too often entrepreneurs kind of have here to there, and they forget all the steps in between. And it is about these little steps. It is about the kind of little measurable small steps between here to there. And if you can't figure that out, if you can't, and it's not a clear path, you're going to go winding road to there. But you need to have those incremental steps to make sure that you're not just randomly kind of doing stuff that doesn't.
Picking out of the sky, right?
And you can't do that. That'll crush you over time, because you have these so-called victories or these little moments that kind of make you think you're on the right path, and that distorts your vision, so you lose the overall focus, and you just are going from one thing to another, random acts of improvement. So, what is your vision? What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do after we get done here to get to that place?
Make more beats.
You're going to make more beats, and that's fine. But I also would say that artists often get in this little, it's an overused word, but they get in their silo of making the music without thinking, okay, what am I going to do to get this? The music just, in your head or on your hard drive, that's only one part of it. So make the great beat. It starts there. It starts with the song. It starts with doing something that people can emotionally connect with. What's next?
Getting it out there.
How?
Got the internet. You have hand-to-hand. You have the word of mouth.
Yeah.
Through the internet, and then you have this.
These are all very abstract, broad things. You need to get way, way more granular. Yes, we have the internet. So does everyone else. What are you going to do on the internet that's going to make people care about your beats as opposed to the bazillion beats that everyone else is out there doing? They all believe are great. What is your plan? How are you going to? It has to get down to that granular level of, yes, the internet is a tool, right? Hand-to-hand is a tool. What's the plan? Those are just terms, And that's where that's where we're, sitting down and thinking it through. Who are my customers? Who is going to care about this music? Where are they? How do I get it in front of them? That's it. That's that. If there's any secret, that's it. What do you do? What are you passionate about? Where are the people out there that are also passionate about this, and how do you connect with them? And using hand-to-hand, using the internet or whatever, those are just tools. But until you identify those people, the world's too big. So where are those people? Where are those people that are going to hear your music and go, I got to get me some of that?
Yeah, but it's harder for me because I'm not an artist.
It's hard for everyone.
But it's easier for an artist because an artist can go out and set up a live gig.
Okay.
And that can draw people to them. It's harder for me to draw people to me because I'm not an artist, but in a way I am. I can't go up and set up a live gig, but I can make a CD.
Yes, you've got to find a way to connect with the people. And you can't connect with the people unless you get in front of the people in some way. Now, if you can't go and just DJ or whatever to get your music out, then you got to get your music in the hands of someone that can perform over it. I just don't think there's any, no one yet, let me put it this way, no one yet has given me an example of a better way of getting your music in front of people than doing it in a live gig. I hear your point, but okay, so if that's not going to work for you, what is? It may be harder for you, I guess. I don't know. That's a relative term. If it means finding an MC that will get in a club and start performing this stuff so people can start going, man, where did you get those beats?
Oh, yeah. And okay, I see where you're coming from now. I was talking about just me, myself. But as far
I don't know. You've got to come with a strategy. You've got to get a strategy that's going to get your music heard. It's just like the person that came up with the world today, the entrepreneurial world today is about strategic partnerships. It's about creating alliances with people that can be more powerful together than they could be separately, right? So you in your little silo making beats and someone in their little silo doing raps but without a good beat, you got to come together. You both benefit from that. You alone over here can't get it out anywhere. You get stuck, right? I mean, there may be ways. I don't know. I do know that throwing them up on MySpace is not going to do it. It's not going to do it. Yes, people will hear it. Yes, some people will like it. But the chances of that leading to anything tangible or real is really slim. You got to get it in front of people. You got to find. Look, you talked about the Chronic a second ago. Dre basically found an MC for his beats. If you think about it, the first was Snoop. The second was Eminem, right? You need your Snoop. You need your Eminem, as best I can tell. And I'm not, I'm far from a hip hop expert. But just looking at this in the same way I would look at somebody that creates one type of product, but is having trouble getting in front of a market, and then thinking, well, there's another person that could get it in front of a market. Why don't you work together? I mean, the business entrepreneurship is no different from any other entrepreneurship. It's about finding a way to get in front of customers that care. It's about figuring out who has your money in their pocket and how you're going to get their money into your pocket. And you got to get in front of them. So, I don't know. That it may not be
you made it clear to me.
It may not be the solution that you want to hear, because it's easier to just sit in your room and make the beats.
Oh, no. See, I have the beats and I have the people. Now it's just like, how do I multiply more people? I want to be heard.
Wait, when you say that you have the people, who are these people?
Oh, the rappers.
They're ready to rap over your beats?
Yeah.
Okay. You got to pick one, the best one, and build that brand. Build Third Shift beats off of this one, maybe two. Find a couple that are out there doing it, that are ready to go, that have the same drive, the same passion that you have, that are willing to say, you know what, I will do this, whatever it takes. I'm going to make this a success. I will confront the difficulties, and I will figure out a way to get over it, and we're in this together, and we're going to get out there and get this music heard. It's not going to be 50 people. It's going to be one or two to start with. And that allows you to focus and say, well, what are we going to do? Let's do this together. Where are you going to go perform in front of people? And then where are you going to go next? And how are you going to make sure that every time you perform, it's an event? It's not just some random thing where, some people stumble into the show and kind of like it, and there's no action, there's no connection. Did you get their email addresses? Did you create a podcast of the show? Did you videotape the show? Did you do any of the things that are going to create a community between these people that are working with you and the people that are hearing it? And build on that. And if you have success with those one or two, you're going to have people knocking at your door saying, man, you got great beats. But it can't just be some random thing where you're just sending out beats to whomever. That's going to dilute your thing. You need to have success with a couple people. Find those people that you really, really believe are going to be partners, are going to be evangelists, are going to go out there and succeed. You'll see it. You can recognize it in people's eyes. You can look at somebody and know whether or not they're going to succeed. Trust your instinct. If you looked at Tupac back in the day, how he was going to succeed. You could just look at him, right?
Right.
Even when he was dancing the Humpty Dance, you knew he was going to succeed, right? Find someone dancing the Humpty Dance.
Okay. Doing the jig in the corner.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, I definitely know what you're saying.
I think we need to wrap up.
Yeah. Thanks for watching the show. We'll see you again next week on the Third Shift Report. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.